Her daughter-in-law threw a plate at her and called it an accident. Jason, her only son, said nothing, just like always. By the next morning, Gloria had changed the locks, filed a notice, and moved her grandson into the guest house. Tiffany posted about toxic elders. Gloria replied with court-certified silence. She'd been the mother, the peacemaker, the unpaid backbone for far too long. Now she was the owner, and the only one left on the deed was her grandson. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. The plate hit the wall with the force of a snapped leash. A burst of ceramic shards flew across Gloria Madsen's dining room, pinging off the wainscoting, scattering under the buffet like startled mice. One jagged piece landed near her heel. She didn't flinch. Only furniture does that, she thought, adjusting the fold of her napkin. Tiffany stood at the end of the table, arms crossed, breathing hard like someone who expected applause for her tantrum. "You always do this," she hissed. "The little digs, the way you look at me like I don't belong." Jason looked down at his plate, cutting into a cold slice of roast as if the food might disappear if he didn't keep moving his knife. "She's just tired, Mom." "Tired people lie down," Gloria replied, voice low and controlled. "They don't throw dinnerware." Tiffany's lip curled. "God, you always think you're better than everyone, with your passive-aggressive hosting and your pity casseroles. It's suffocating." Lucas sat frozen, his fork halfway to his mouth, eyes wide and unblinking. A kernel of corn rolled off his plate and onto the floor. He didn't move to pick it up. "I made dinner," Gloria said, standing slowly, "because you asked me to, because you said it would be nice to reconnect." She turned her gaze to Jason. Was that a lie? Or just a convenient performance? Jason raised his palms. "Can we not do this now?" Lucas blinked fast. His small hands curled around the edges of his chair. Gloria stepped carefully over the broken pieces on the floor. Her bare feet moved like she'd walked over sharper things. She retrieved the broom from the hallway and began sweeping. The sound of bristles brushing ceramic was the only noise in the room. "You're unbelievable," Tiffany muttered, already storming toward the living room. Jason trailed behind her, muttering something about needing air. The sound of the sliding door opening punctuated the awkward silence, like a period on a sentence no one finished. Gloria kept sweeping. Lucas stood quietly and walked to her side. He crouched and picked up a large piece of the shattered plate, holding it delicately between his fingers. "Careful," she murmured. Sharp edges cut soft hands. He handed it over without looking at her. "It was my favorite one," he said. "The one with the blue rim." "I know," she replied, wrapping it in a napkin before dropping it gently into the trash. They cleaned in silence, the way people do after storms. No need for conversation, only cleanup. When they finished, Gloria walked to the sink and ran water over her hands, letting it rinse the quiet rage from her fingers. She dried them carefully on a towel Jason had given her for Mother's Day 2 years ago, the tag still on it. Her phone buzzed on the counter. "Olive. Heard what happened? She threw a plate? Are we doing jail time or journaling?" Gloria stared at the message for a long beat, then typed back slowly. "Gloria. She needs rest? I'll give her space. Watch me." She pressed send. Across the kitchen, Lucas stood by the table, eyes tracing the arc of damage still fresh in the air. The wall was chipped, the tablecloth stained with roast gravy and silence. "Can I draw something later?" he asked quietly. "Of course. For you, I mean." Gloria nodded. That would mean everything. Outside, Tiffany's voice rose again, muffled behind the sliding glass door, clipped and furious. Jason said nothing in return. The patio light flickered once, then steadied. Gloria turned off the kitchen light and walked toward the guest house in the backyard, her slippers soft against the tile. The house behind her still stood, but something inside it had already shifted. They'd always walked through her door like it owed them something. Tiffany, especially, all heels and entitlement, acting like the walls should lean when she snapped, like the kitchen tiles were just another perk of marrying into a stable zip code. But Gloria never transferred the title, never even offered, not out of spite, out of precision. On Monday morning, she poured a fresh cup of coffee, placed it beside a crisp manila folder, and sat at the breakfast nook with the morning sun slicing through the blinds. It was time to check the files. Her files. The deed was where it had always been, neatly folded in a fireproof pouch behind the utility statements. Property listed solely under her name. Gloria Lenore Madsen. No joint. Owner. No transfer history. No gifted marital asset clause. She flipped to the homeowner's insurance. Also her name, her payments, her coverage, even the most recent appliance upgrades, stove, washer, the tankless water heater, all purchased using her post-retirement savings. She'd kept every receipt, dated, scanned, organized by room. She tapped the folder twice, like closing a chapter before it even began. Her phone buzzed. Claire Thorne, attorney. Confirmed. Your sole owner. No tenant agreement signed, no lease. You can proceed with a formal notice to vacate under Texas Property Code 24.005. Gloria replied with a thumbs-up emoji. She figured Claire would appreciate the efficiency. In the living room, she opened the bottom drawer of the sideboard. Inside, a crisp, untouched copy of the house use agreement she'd once offered Jason and Tiffany when they moved in 4 years ago. Tiffany had laughed. Not to her face, of course, but behind her back, in that echoing voice that always carried just far enough. She actually wants us to sign something, like we're renters? Tiffany had scoffed to Jason, unaware Gloria had heard it all through the hallway vent. If she dies, it's ours anyway. But Gloria hadn't died, and the ink had never dried on anything Tiffany could claim. She flipped to the signature page. Blank. A quiet little testament to arrogance. The front door opened without a knock. Olive breezed in, floral blouse and tinted sunglasses, holding 2 cinnamon scones and her own brand of righteous curiosity. I heard your porcelain-hurling houseguest made an encore, Olive said, setting the bag down on the counter. We throwing hands or lawsuits? Neither, Gloria said, sliding the deed across the counter like a poker chip. We're letting the law do what it's built for. Olive raised one eyebrow. Still just your name? Start to finish. Well, she broke off a piece of the scone. So what now? Gloria didn't smile, but her eyes gleamed with something cold and earned. Let's see how well she rests. On borrowed furniture. She turned her laptop toward Olive and clicked into the county's online eviction portal. Quietly, she began drafting the notice to vacate. No threats, no theatrics, just legal clarity wrapped in dated signatures and property lines. She selected the 30-day notice template. Texas law required no lease, no grace, no guesswork. As she filled in the final fields, her reflection caught in the screen, sharp, composed, unshaken. They'd thought the house came with marriage. They'd never bothered to read the fine print. She clicked, submit. Gloria didn't yell, she didn't lecture, didn't storm through the house or slam any doors. She scheduled. Before the coffee even finished brewing Tuesday morning, she was on the phone with the electric company, her tone polite but surgical. Yes, I need to update the service address. I'm the property owner. I'll need duplicate statements, guest house and main structure, listed under my name only. Then gas, then water, then Wi-Fi. The woman on the other end of the last call paused when Gloria read off her social security number. Updating both accounts today, Ms. Madsen? Yes, Gloria answered. I've decided I like keeping things separate. By noon, she had logged every confirmation number in her handwritten planner. No apps, no automation, just black ink on ivory paper, neat as ledger lines. Outside, cicadas buzzed beneath the late Texas sun. Tiffany lounged on the patio, scrolling through her phone in oversized sunglasses like nothing was coming. She laughed at something Jason said. Gloria watched them from the window, unseen. They thought silence meant surrender. But Gloria's quiet wasn't empty. It was full, dense with logistics and timing. She spent that afternoon moving her valuables into the guest house. Jewelry boxes, personal records, her late husband's watch and military medals, Lucas's kindergarten drawings, a ceramic angel Jason had made in 3rd grade, still chipped at the wing. Each item was wrapped carefully, as if handled too hard it might trigger the past to wake up. The guest house lock clicked behind her like a punctuation mark. By Thursday, Tiffany had begun calling her behavior weird. Jason called it mood swings. Neither noticed that their names were gone from the mailbox. The new nameplate read simply, G.L. Madsen. No hyphens, no additions. Tiffany assumed the cold shoulder was just Gloria being petty, a passive-aggressive wave of punishment after the plate incident. She called her friends, mocking the vibe shift in the house, not realizing the walls were already being cleared of anything with her fingerprints. Jason stayed neutral. Again. When Tiffany flung passive barbs in the kitchen about Gloria's ancient cookware, about her weird breakfast habits, Jason stayed silent. Gloria noted each one like entries in a mental ledger. June 11th. Silence after Tiffany said I should start forgetting things by now. June 13th. Silence when she mocked my daily walks. June 15th. Silence when she blamed Lucas's stutter on genetics. Each silence told Gloria exactly where his loyalty ended. She didn't fight for his loyalty anymore. That Saturday, as she sorted keepsakes into labeled boxes, she felt a gentle tug on her sleeve. Lucas stood in the doorway, one sock on, the other dragging like a question. I made you something, he said. He held out a drawing, crayon on textured paper, a broken plate, drawn in gold and stitched back together with thick lines like veins. Beside it, a small house, a tree, a woman with gray hair holding a broom like a sword. Gloria took it, studied it, then looked at him with something close to reverence. You see everything, don't you? Lucas nodded, quiet. I see who throws, he whispered. And who picks up. She knelt and pulled him gently into a hug, her chin resting on the crown of his head. She didn't say another word. That evening, after he'd gone to bed, Gloria scanned the drawing and emailed a copy to Claire. Attached was a subject line, Official Notice Delivery. Proceed. At precisely 10:12 p.m., Claire submitted the certified Notice to Vacate via secure server. Time-stamped, documented, filed, 30 days on record, not a minute more. The grout between the tiles still held her fingerprints. Gloria crouched beside the island, the late morning light stretching across the ceramic floor like a confession. She tapped one tile gently, third from the pantry, dark marbled blue. That was the one she had insisted on replacing after the contractor's team cut corners. She paid the extra $300 herself. They hadn't noticed. She rose slowly, her knees stiff but sure, and turned on the kitchen faucet. The water pressure was strong, upgraded piping, courtesy of her 2012 home equity pull. Gloria had tracked the plumbing permit number in her records ever since. She had the scanned invoice to prove it. Now she was scanning everything else. Every receipt, every contractor estimate, every dated photo she'd taken over the years when a project was complete. Appliance upgrades, new floors, HVAC maintenance, the smart security system Tiffany had taken for granted. Gloria made a clean tabbed PDF file for Claire. Madsen Property Ledger. Fixtures, assets, furnishings. It came out to 48 pages. Meanwhile, in the living room, Tiffany filmed a reel. Gloria could hear the cadence of her influencer voice floating down the hall, perky, self-congratulatory, stretched over filters and insincerity. We're renovating our kitchen space, she said to her phone. I've always wanted to modernize the vibe, put my touch on it. Gloria pressed record on her phone and captured the audio. She didn't bother to step into the room. The sound was enough. A few minutes later, the reel went live. It took less than an hour to reach 1,200 views. In the caption, never settle for someone else's aesthetic. Create your own. My house, my rules. Gloria didn't comment. She forwarded the video to Claire with a single sentence. She just claimed ownership of my tiles. By noon, Olive showed up in cargo sandals and a clipboard. They touch your stuff again? No, Gloria said, opening the door, but they're about to lose access to it. They walked room to room. Olive called out items like a military quartermaster. This love seat yours? Paid for in 2016. The mirror above the fireplace? My anniversary gift to myself. Throw pillows? Charity bin? They tagged furniture, dishes, linens, everything that bore Gloria's money, taste, or memory. Items she didn't want them taking or tarnishing were marked for relocation. Everything else would be donated. "I called the women's shelter," Gloria said, handing Olive a list. "They said they'd take the beds, kitchenware, and all the toddler items." Olive's pen paused. "Toddler items?" "I kept Lucas's old high chair, the one Tiffany said was too visually bulky. She shoved it in the attic." "You're donating memory, Gloria." Gloria nodded. "Just the parts they never earned." By the end of the day, she had confirmed the moving company, licensed, bonded, and already under NDA. Pickup scheduled, the 31st day from today, 31 days, one extra for Grace. The next morning, just as Gloria was trimming the basil by her front window, a black sedan pulled into the driveway. A man in a crisp blazer stepped out, carrying a small square envelope. Tiffany answered the door barefoot. Gloria stayed out of sight. "What is this?" Tiffany snapped as she opened the envelope, her voice pitched high, slicing through the air like the plate she'd thrown. "What the actual hell is this?" The courier calmly replied, "Official delivery complete, ma'am." "Vacate notice? Is this some kind of joke?" From behind the curtain, Gloria didn't blink. The pounding started at 6:47 a.m. Not a knock, not even fists. It was the flat, open-palmed panic of someone who'd just realized the ground beneath them was never theirs. "Glory." "Hey!" Tiffany shrieked from the porch of the guest house. "Open this damn door!" The sun hadn't cleared the tops of the oak trees yet, but the heat was already rising, thick and impatient. Gloria moved one ceramic mug into place on her tray, followed by another. She stirred a splash of cream into her coffee, then unlocked the deadbolt, but didn't open the door. From the other side, Tiffany's breathing came fast and ragged. "What the hell is this notice? You're evicting me?" Gloria's voice was calm. "The term is vacate, dear. And yes, you can't do this. This is Jason's house, too." Jason appeared behind her on the path, still in pajama pants and a college t-shirt. He looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. "Mom," he started, rubbing his forehead, "can we just talk for a second?" "We already did," Gloria said through the door. "You said she was tired. I'm giving her the time off she needs." Tiffany let out a hollow laugh. "This is insane. Do you know how you sound? Petty and insane." "I sound like someone who knows where her property lines are," Gloria replied. "Apparently you don't." Tiffany kicked the bottom of the door in frustration. "I'm going to sue you. You're destabilizing a minor's home." "You're welcome to try," Gloria said. "Just make sure your attorney reads the deed first." The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was strategy shifting beneath the surface. Then a shuffle of small feet on the gravel. "Grandma?" Lucas's voice floated up. "Can I come in?" Gloria opened the door, not for Tiffany, but for Lucas. He stepped inside without looking at his mother, holding a paper bag with a sandwich he clearly hadn't touched. Tiffany threw up her hands. "You're poisoning him against me now?" Lucas turned, eyes wide but steady. "She hasn't said anything. I just like it here." Jason put a hand on Tiffany's shoulder to pull her back, but she shrugged it off. "I built that kitchen," she muttered. "No, you decorated over it," Gloria replied. "You never asked who paid for the floor beneath it." Jason looked like he wanted to disappear. Instead, he reached into his pocket and checked his buzzing phone. His face went pale. "What?" Tiffany asked. "What now?" Jason didn't answer. He turned the screen toward Gloria like a surrender flag. Subject: Mortgage application terminated. Ownership discrepancy. From Texas First Title Services. Dear Mr. Madsen, your refinancing request has been rejected due to a title inconsistency. Further inquiry revealed the applicant, T. Madsen, was not an owner or co-signer. The application is now under review for potential misrepresentation. Gloria raised an eyebrow, unmoved. Behind his back too? Jason looked at Tiffany, eyes finally awake. You tried to refinance the house? It was an idea, she snapped. I didn't finalize anything. You submitted documents, he said flatly. I needed options, she cried, arms flailing. God forbid I make improvements without waiting for everyone to catch up. No, Gloria cut in. God forbid you steal equity you never earned. Jason dropped his gaze. Claire's email chimed into Gloria's inbox seconds later. She always timed it precisely. Gloria opened it on her tablet with Lucas watching curiously over her shoulder. Attachment, property deed, full ledger, notice of financial misrepresentation filed. CC, Tiffany's lawyer. Guess they'll be reading now, Gloria said, sipping her coffee. Outside, Tiffany's breath hitched. Lucas, Gloria said gently, you still hungry? He nodded and pulled out his sandwich, following her to the small table by the guesthouse window. Jason stayed outside, still holding his phone like it burned. The folder sat on Gloria's desk like a wound. Red-tabbed, freshly sealed, marked confidential. Inside, scanned copies of the mortgage pre-approval Tiffany had submitted 3 weeks earlier, listing Jason as the sole owner and co-signer, inflating their equity by almost $100,000. Gloria stared at the digital copy on her screen. The signature was Jason's, not forged, real. She closed the laptop with quiet precision. Downstairs, she could hear Tiffany's laughter trailing from the living room, high-pitched, artificial. We'll probably install a breakfast nook, she said on speakerphone. French country, not rustic. It's an emotional difference. Jason's voice mumbled in the background. He hadn't brought up the refinance to Gloria. He hadn't brought up anything at all. She walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer beneath the spice rack, and retrieved the envelope Claire had mailed weeks ago. It was labeled, "In case she crosses the line." Or he lets her. Inside was a fraud report template, already half-filled. Gloria completed the rest in clean block letters, then scanned and emailed it directly to the Travis County Title Office. No shaking hands, no second thoughts, just boundaries. That night, Tiffany posted a video titled, "When Family Becomes Financially Toxic." Her eyes were damp, the background carefully styled with, "Throw pillows and candles." Sometimes you just want to build a life and they drag up receipts like you're a criminal, but growth makes people uncomfortable. The comments filled with heart emojis and "Stay strong girl" affirmations. Gloria didn't respond. She simply forwarded the link to Claire, who replied within minutes. Excellent. She just admitted the financial dispute is real, screenshotted and archived. The next morning, Olive dropped by with a carton of eggs and her usual verbal artillery. She's going down swinging, Olive said, loading the eggs into Gloria's fridge like she owned the place. Which is fine. Let her perform. Just don't clap. Gloria nodded, sliding her estate planning folder onto the kitchen counter. She opened her online account and reviewed her beneficiary list. Remove Jason Madsen. Remove Tiffany Madsen. Add Lucas Madsen. Restricted trust. Activation, age 21 or court-evaluated stability. She saved the changes. Confirmed them with a passcode. The doorbell rang not 10 minutes later. Jason stood there, duffel bag in one hand, a cooler bag in the other. She's spiraling, he said quietly. I need a few days away from it, just until she cools off. Gloria stepped aside. He walked in, slower than usual, and dropped his bag by the guest house sofa. You probably think I'm weak. I think you're late, Gloria said. Jason sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees. I didn't know she submitted that application, not at first. Gloria waited. She asked me to sign some updates. I didn't read them. Because that's easier, Gloria replied. He looked up. I didn't think it'd matter. We've been married 10 years. And I've owned this home for 15, she said. You knew that. I didn't stop her. I know that now. His voice cracked. I just thought maybe things would settle. Gloria poured him a glass of water and placed it on the table beside him. Settling doesn't fix a fault line, Jason. It just hides it until the quake hits. He nodded, silent. Outside, wind pushed against the windows, a dry, hot breeze that rattled the wooden blinds. In the main house, Tiffany's footsteps moved from room to room, sharp, uneven, searching. Gloria checked her email again. The title office had replied, fraud inquiry accepted, pending formal review. Jason stared into his untouched soup, hands wrapped around the ceramic bowl like it could anchor him. Outside, the wind scraped dry leaves against the guest house siding. Inside, the silence wasn't cruel, it was clean, like bleach after blood. She screamed at him, he finally said, "Lucas, yesterday." Gloria didn't react. She simply moved to the kitchen counter and placed the ladle back into the pot. She had expected this admission. She just hadn't expected it so soon. "She didn't hit him," Jason added quickly. "But she broke his Lego set, the one he was building for weeks." Gloria exhaled slowly through her nose. "What did you do?" Jason's face creased. "I told her to calm down, that we'd talk later." Gloria walked over, folded a quilt across the arm of the couch, and handed it to him. "Soup, blanket, silence. That's what you get tonight." He looked at her, confused. "That's it?" "I'm not here to punish you, Jason," she said. "But I'm also not here to shelter cowardice." He flinched like he deserved it, and maybe he did. She let that silence stretch long enough for discomfort to do its work. Then, quietly, she turned and walked toward the kitchen desk. Her laptop was open, cursor blinking at the end of an email chain. Claire had sent the confirmation just 20 minutes ago. "Mortgage fraud injunction filed. Travis County Court. Case number assigned." A separate file showed the financial freeze request submitted through Tiffany's bank, backed by Gloria's ownership documentation and Claire's brief outlining fraudulent use of property equity. Tiffany wouldn't know yet, but she'd feel it soon. A knock at the guesthouse door pulled Gloria from the screen. She opened it to find Lucas, backpack slung over one shoulder, a crumpled paper in his hand. "Can I sleep here tonight?" he asked, voice low. Gloria crouched, touched his shoulder. "Of course, honey." He handed her the paper. It was a drawing, this time of a small house with golden windows, and 3 stick figures, Gloria, Lucas, and a cat that didn't exist. "Daddy said this is where people are quiet. The good kind." Gloria kissed the top of his head. "Sometimes grown-ups forget what homes are for." Jason came to the doorway, startled. "Lucas, I didn't know you left the house." "I used the side gate," Lucas said. "I didn't want to talk to her." Jason looked down, shame tightening his jaw. "Let him stay," Gloria said firmly. "He's safer here tonight." Jason nodded. By morning, Tiffany would wake up to frozen bank accounts, an official court notice on her pending investigation, and a revised estate profile that no longer considered her family. But Gloria wasn't thinking about Tiffany. She was thinking about this space, this quiet, solid space, where her grandson felt whole again. That afternoon, Olive dropped by with a square package wrapped in brown paper. "I had this made," she said, sliding it across the guesthouse's kitchen counter. "You're gonna want to see it." Gloria peeled back the paper slowly. Inside was a custom doormat, thick coir, black lettering on gray slate background. The words were simple, "Still standing." Gloria chuckled, but it wasn't bitter. It was earned. "Put it outside that door. Let her step over it every time she comes begging for an audience." "Olive," Gloria warned gently. "I said what I said." She did. Later that evening, the sun bleeding out over the Austin sky, Tiffany came storming down the pathway from the main house. Her heels clicked like gunshots. Her face was wild. She reached for the keypad on the guesthouse door, tapped in the code. Nothing. She tried again. And again. Invalid entry. Her voice rose in a shrill pitch. "You changed the code?" Gloria appeared behind the screen door, calm as dusk. "I didn't lock you out," she said softly. "I just stopped pretending you belonged here." Tiffany stepped back, stunned, fingers twitching as if looking for something to throw. The locksmith arrived just after sunrise, discreet as requested. He pulled into the driveway in an unmarked van, toolbox in hand, gray cap tugged low over his brow. No logos, no fuss. Gloria met him on the porch with the deed in a folder and the coffee already poured. "No drama," she said, holding the front door open. "Just a clean change." "Yes, ma'am." The man nodded, respectful but curious. Inside, the morning light spread in long, golden strips across the hardwood floor, undisturbed by Tiffany's presence, for once. She'd been staying at a friend's condo downtown since the code change on the guest house, but she hadn't let it go. By mid-morning, the new deadbolts were installed, the code reset, and the guest house now fully synced to Gloria's name through the smart home system. Entry logs, temperature settings, even mail alerts, reassigned. The house felt lighter, the air less stiff, but the stillness didn't last. At 11:24 a.m., Tiffany's white SUV came roaring up the driveway like a threat. She marched toward the front porch, phone in hand, screaming before she even reached the door. "You can't do this! You can't legally lock me out of my own home!" She pounded the door with her palm, rattling the new frame. Gloria didn't respond. 10 minutes later, a squad car pulled up beside Tiffany's SUV. A young officer stepped out, calm and deliberate. He knocked gently, and Gloria answered with a polite smile and her folder in hand. "Ma'am, we received a report of an unlawful lockout." "I expected you might," Gloria said, handing him the deed, the notice to vacate filing, and the updated property ledger, all neatly tabbed and signed by her attorney. The officer scanned the papers for a long moment, then turned to Tiffany, who stood behind him, fuming. "Ma'am, she's the sole owner of the property. The paperwork's airtight. You've been served with formal notice. She's within her full legal right to change the locks." "You can't be serious," Tiffany shouted. "I've lived here for 10 years. "You've lived here," the officer clarified. "Not owned." Tiffany's face crumpled, first in rage, then desperation. She lifted her phone and aimed it at the house, recording herself in a shaky, tear-streaked selfie video. "This is what happens when you trust the wrong people," she sniffled. "Manipulative family dynamics, financial abuse. They want to erase you." But this time, the comments didn't offer comfort. They asked questions. Didn't she pay for the house? Wait, isn't this the woman who tried to refinance behind her mother-in-law's back? Kinda seems like she got caught. By evening, the post was quietly deleted. Screenshots had already gone viral. Jason, quiet and pale, stood in the hallway watching as Gloria opened the linen closet and began placing Tiffany's monogrammed towels into a donation bin. "I guess it's time," he muttered. "I told you," Gloria said, folding one towel into another. "Peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes it comes in boxes." He nodded and began filling a duffel with her designer shoes. In the guest house, Lucas was already dressed for school the next day. His backpack sat neatly by the door. Gloria had packed him lunch and written a note that simply read, "You're safe." Later that night, Gloria sat at her desk with the glow of her laptop illuminating her face. She drafted a formal request to Claire. Subject, Trust Update, Lucas Madsen. Action, Add to property deed via irrevocable family trust. Age-based unlock with guardian clause. She hit send. 30 minutes later, Tiffany's name appeared in her inbox, a scanned legal document attached. Petition, Spousal Property Rights, claiming emotional coercion and shared marital investment. Tiffany entered the courtroom with a tissue already in hand, creased, light, eye damp, like it had seen an hour of rehearsal before curtain. Her heels echoed too loudly against the polished tile as she took her seat at the petitioner's table, flanked by a lawyer whose briefcase looked newer than his resume. Across the aisle, Gloria sat with her back straight, her sweater soft gray and dignified. Beside her, Claire adjusted the tabbed binder that held over a decade's worth of facts, color-coded, time-stamped, impossible to ignore. The judge, a woman in her 50s with slate-gray hair and a voice that cut like upholstery scissors, entered with the weight of zero tolerance. "Let's begin." Tiffany's attorney rose with polished enthusiasm. "Your Honor, my client seeks spousal rights based on long-term cohabitation, emotional contribution, and shared domestic investment." "Does your client's name appear on the deed?" the judge asked without blinking. "No, Your Honor, but was a marriage license ever filed in the state of Texas?" The attorney hesitated. "No, but Texas recognizes common law." Claire stood smoothly. "Your Honor, if I may submit Exhibit A." She handed over a thick folder, copies of utility bills, mortgage statements, insurance policies, and home improvement receipts, all bearing one name only, Gloria Madsen. Exhibit B followed, screenshots from Tiffany's own social media accounts boasting about her renovations and ownership, including the now infamous reel where she claimed, "My house, My rules. The judge flipped through the folder in silence, then looked up at Tiffany. Ma'am, you claimed emotional control. These records show attempted mortgage fraud using forged equity, posted without consent from the deed holder. Can you explain that? Tiffany dabbed her eyes. It was a misunderstanding. I thought Jason shifted slightly but said nothing. Did you forge Gloria Madsen's financial data? No, I never filed anything officially, Claire interjected calmly. Your Honor, we also have Claire's recorded attempt to open a new home equity line using Jason Madsen's name, without his presence or consent. The judge looked over her reading glasses. Did Mr. Madsen authorize this transaction? Jason hesitated, then shook his head. I knew about it, but I didn't sign anything. You didn't stop it either, the judge noted coldly. Silence hummed in the courtroom like static between frequencies. Gloria didn't flinch. She didn't smirk. She sat like granite beneath velvet. In light of submitted evidence, the judge continued, the court dismisses the claim of common law spousal property rights. You, Ms. Harrington. It's Madsen, Tiffany corrected weakly. The judge's pen paused. No, ma'am, it isn't. Claire handed over one last document, video footage from the home security camera, the night of the plate incident. The judge watched the clip in silence, Tiffany screaming, ceramic shattering, Jason blinking as if stunned into stillness. The judge closed the laptop. Ms. Harrington is hereby ordered to vacate the premises within 72 hours. She holds no legal ownership, marital claim, or tenant rights. Additionally, based on attempts to misrepresent legal documents, she is barred from filing further property claims against Ms. Madsen. Tiffany's mouth opened, closed. Jason didn't look at her. Claire offered a polite nod. Thank you, Your Honor. Outside the courtroom, the world didn't spin faster or slower. It just felt sharper, air with an edge. Gloria stepped onto the sidewalk and inhaled, cool air expanding her chest. Lucas tugged her sleeve. Can we go home now? Gloria looked down. He was holding a drawing again. This time, a floor plan. His new room in the guest house, neatly labeled, bookshelf, window seat, secret place. She smiled. Let's go, baby. Tiffany remained behind, pacing near the bench outside the courtroom, her phone clenched like a weapon. She wasn't crying now, she was calculating. The next morning, Claire's inbox pinged with a new filing. Plaintiff, Tiffany Harrington. Claim, defamation, emotional distress, damages seeking, $150,000 in public apology. The envelope slid across Claire's desk with a soft shh, as delicate as the contents were damning. From Olive, Claire said, tapping the seal once with a manicured nail. Signed, notarized, and time-stamped. Gloria took it carefully, as if it were made of glass. The affidavit inside was 4 crisp pages. Olive's voice, even on paper, sharp and dry as a highball. Every detail of the night Tiffany exploded was laid out plainly. The raised voices, the plate's trajectory, the way Jason didn't move. She didn't dramatize. She didn't speculate. She just remembered. Accurately. And that was all they needed. Next came the hallway footage. Claire pulled it up on her laptop. The faint hum of kitchen chatter, the spike in Tiffany's voice, the flash of a plate sailing past Gloria's shoulder and shattering against the wall. Jason, hands limp at his sides, didn't react until it was too late. Lucas, barely, visible behind the banister, flinched but didn't speak. Did you want to see it again? Claire asked. Gloria shook her head. Once was enough. I lived it. The defamation suit Tiffany filed the day after court didn't make it past the first review. Claire submitted the footage, the affidavit, and the full court transcript from the previous dismissal. The judge tossed the claim with prejudice. No opportunity to refile, no settlement, no leverage. And then it got worse for Tiffany. A popular online home brand, known for cozy ad spots featuring family influencers, pulled her partnership without warning. Someone had sent them a packet, a blend of the footage, Tiffany's tearful porch video, and screenshots of her Instagram captions about owning her dream house. Gloria didn't ask Claire who sent it. She already knew. When the official drop notice arrived in Tiffany's inbox, she posted a vague story about fake people and contracts that mean nothing. But her grid fell silent. No new uploads, no hauls, no sponsor tags, just dust. That evening, Jason lingered in the doorway of the guest house, the air thick with the smell of grilled vegetables and early summer rain. "I should have stopped her," he said quietly. "You didn't have to stop her," Gloria replied, setting 2 plates on the table. "You just had to not stand behind her." Jason rubbed a hand over his face. "It was easier, you know, keeping the peace." Gloria poured him a glass of water. "Then easy is what broke this." He nodded, staring down at the plate. Not broken this time, just white porcelain, whole. Across the room, Lucas was curled up on the guesthouse couch, sketchpad on his knees. The pencil moved in long, thoughtful strokes. He didn't ask for attention, but Gloria watched him anyway. Later that night, as the cicadas buzzed through the screens and Olive's voice faded on the speakerphone, Gloria opened her email to a new message from the elementary school. Subject: Student File Update. Lucas Madsen Body. "Hi, Ms. Madsen, just confirming that Lucas listed your address as his primary residence on today's enrollment form. Let us know if this is a formal change." Gloria read it twice. Then she leaned back in her chair, heart tight and quiet at the same time. Lucas had already chosen. Gloria reread the email again, its phrasing neat, neutral, yet quietly seismic. He hadn't asked. He hadn't even mentioned it over breakfast that morning, just stirred maple syrup into his oatmeal and talked about his science fair project like nothing was different. But something had shifted. Something irreversible. She picked up the phone. "Claire," she said, voice low but resolute, "let's move forward on the custody filings. Limited guardianship. Jason will co-sign." There was a pause on the other end. Then, "Understood. I'll prepare the papers tonight." Jason didn't resist when she asked him to sign. He met her in the kitchen, hair unbrushed, face sagging from sleeplessness. He looked at the papers, then at Gloria. "She won't like this," he said, pen hovering. "She already doesn't," Gloria replied. He signed. Tiffany found out within the hour. The moment the school system updated Lucas's address in the portal, she received an automated notification. Her text came first, 5 lines of venom, followed by a call that went unanswered. When she finally showed up at the front steps, she didn't knock. She pounded. Lucas saw her first through the window and instinctively backed away. Gloria stepped between him and the door. "You traitor!" Tiffany screamed the moment Gloria opened it, her voice ragged with something far past anger. "You're letting her ruin you, again!" Lucas didn't run to his mother. He didn't say a word. He turned and walked back to the guest house, shoulders hunched like he was trying to disappear. Tiffany tried to follow, but Gloria stood firm. "You're done here," she said evenly. "She's brainwashing him," Tiffany snapped to Jason, who hovered awkwardly behind the garden gate. "Say something." Jason didn't move. "You did that all by yourself." Tiffany's mouth twisted. She stared at Gloria, searching for something to hurt her with. Then her voice dropped, cold and sharp. "This isn't over." "No," Gloria said. "It's finished." Tiffany left in a storm of gravel, her SUV coughing up dust as it peeled out of the driveway. She didn't take anything with her, not even a goodbye. Inside, Lucas was curled up in the corner of Gloria's bedroom, wrapped in the old blue Afghan she kept on the foot of the bed. She didn't speak. She just sat beside him, placed a hand on his back, and waited. Minutes passed before he finally whispered, "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby," she said. "You're safe." He pressed his face into her side and stayed there. That night, Claire filed the legal addendum. Gloria Madsen, designated contingency guardian of Lucas Madsen in the event of parental neglect or instability. Jason's digital signature was on file. Tiffany's name wasn't listed. 2 days later, Gloria met with her estate planner. She created a college trust for Lucas, untouchable, interest-bearing, built for flexibility. "This isn't for when you're old enough," she told him. "It's for when you feel safe enough." He nodded like he understood more than she realized. The next morning, Tiffany returned, not to reconcile but to reclaim. She demanded Jason choose. He didn't answer fast enough. "I'm done," she snapped. "You'll regret this." Jason didn't argue. He just watched as she packed 3 duffel bags, slammed the door behind her, and left without turning back. That evening, Claire sent Gloria the final document to sign. She clicked the last box and typed her name. Gloria Madsen, owner. Secondary heir, Lucas Madsen. The house now legally belonged to them both. The third offer came in on a Thursday morning, a private investor from Dallas offering 20% over market in cash. No inspection. No contingencies. Gloria didn't even open the attached PDF. She clicked decline and moved the email to a folder she'd labeled No. By Friday, 5 offers sat ignored. Word had spread that the house on Sycamore Trail, a clean corner lot 2-story with garden beds and solar panels, was unstable ownership. Investors smelled blood, but what they didn't realize was that Gloria had made her peace, not with selling, but with staying. The real renovation had already begun. The formal dining room was stripped of the heavy table Tiffany once insisted on keeping. In its place, a circle of chairs, a chalkboard on wheels, and a bookshelf marked, "Take 1, leave 1." It was the new financial literacy lounge, open twice a week to women over 50 seeking help, clarity, or just company. Jason helped patch drywall in the back office. Lucas scrubbed baseboards and painted signs. Olive brought over lemon balm and mint, arranging pots by the kitchen window like a new kind of perimeter. "Smells like ownership," she quipped, dusting soil from her palms. "Fresh and hard-earned." Gloria smiled. She was learning that healing wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was just dirt under your nails and clean receipts in your drawer. The guest house became a weekend mentorship retreat. Lucas painted a mural along the west wall, a sprawling tree with wide roots, golden veins, and a tiny door tucked near the base. Above it, in his careful handwriting, "You're still home." Gloria blinked hard when she saw it. At the next city real estate seminar, Gloria took the stage wearing slate-gray linen and soft gold earrings. The room was full: brokers, appraisers, retired agents, and students. She didn't tell them about Tiffany. Not directly. She told them about the myth of safe equity, about how keeping quiet for too long costs more than a bad investment, about how the deed you hold means nothing if your boundaries aren't in place. "Ownership," she finished, "isn't just about property. It's about peace you won't trade, not even for double." The applause lasted longer than she expected. Claire was in the second row, nodding. Olive stood in the back, arms crossed, eyes misty. That night, Gloria stood barefoot in the garden, the scent of rosemary rising in the dusk, cicadas humming like a low electric current. Lucas chased fireflies. Jason trimmed hedges in silence, not from guilt, just presence. She walked to the mailbox before heading in. The envelope was thick, heavier than it needed to be. Certified, signature required. Gloria held it between her fingers like it might drip something caustic. Claire stood across from her at the kitchen island, reading the header aloud. "Allegations of emotional damages, undue stress, reputation sabotage." Reputation sabotage? Gloria raised an eyebrow, then sliced the envelope open with the same letter opener she once used to sign closing contracts. Inside, 3 pages of inflated language, passive voice, and implied victimhood. Tiffany's legal team was grasping but determined, threatening civil action for prolonged emotional distress, resulting in reputational injury, economic fallout, and psychological trauma. Claire didn't flinch. "I'll draft the cease and desist. She doesn't have a claim, Gloria, not even close." "I don't want to counter," Gloria said calmly. "I want it quiet. I want it closed." Claire nodded, already making notes. "Then I'll include a clause. Final contact. Blocked. For good." Gloria watched her pen move. The click of it returning into place felt like punctuation on a sentence she didn't write, but finally ended. She left the letter on the edge of the counter. Later that night, Gloria stood in front of the fireplace, matchbook in one hand, Tiffany's final letter in the other. The house was dark except for the golden wash of embers glowing under the grate. Lucas was curled in the corner armchair, legs tucked up, a blanket around his shoulders. He was reading, but he watched her over the rim of the book. Gloria struck the match, held the flame to the page, and dropped the curling edges into the firebox. The flames caught quickly. Paper, like lies, went fast when starved of oxygen. The room filled with the smell of scorched ink and cedar. Lucas's voice was small but certain. "Can we stay here always?" Gloria didn't answer right away. She walked to him, ran her fingers through his hair, and knelt beside the chair. "You're not staying," she said softly. "You're growing here." He leaned into her, and neither of them moved for a long time. The next morning, she found a card in the mailbox. No return address, but she recognized Jason's handwriting even before she opened it. "Thank you. You saved more than the house. J." There was no signature beyond the initial, but the message was clear. Gloria set the card on the bookshelf, not the mantel. Not everything needed framing. Some things were better left in motion. That afternoon, the phone rang from an unfamiliar number. "Ms. Madsen?" a woman's voice asked, warm but official. "This is Cassandra Hightower. I'm the school counselor at Maplewood Elementary. Lucas mentioned you in class today and we have an upcoming family workshop for teens, navigating home transitions. Would you consider speaking?" Gloria stood in the kitchen doorway, her hand resting on the frame. The garden outside shimmered in the heat, tomato vines climbing toward the sun like they'd been waiting for space. "I'll think about it," Gloria said. "But yes, I think I will." The folding chair creaked slightly beneath Gloria as she adjusted the microphone. The room smelled of pencil shavings, vending machine coffee, and freshly waxed tile, typical of a school multi-purpose room. It wasn't grand, but it was honest. She didn't bring notes. She didn't need them. 12 teens sat scattered in the room, slouched in hoodies or cross-legged with guarded faces. Their parents hovered in the back row or waited in the hallway, pretending they weren't listening through the cracked doors. Lucas sat in the rear corner, his backpack at his feet, legs bouncing beneath the chair. He watched her with a stillness that made her breath catch. "I was told to talk about home," Gloria began, voice calm, sure. Not the kind with shingles and square footage, the kind with history, the kind you're expected to protect even when no one protects you. A girl in the front, no older than 14, stopped doodling in her notebook. "I lived with my son, his wife, and their boy." "My grandson," Gloria said. "She threw a plate at me once. Over a dinner I cooked, in a house I paid for, and a life I never asked repayment for. My son said she was tired. I was expected to absorb it." She let that sit. No anger in her tone, just still, deliberate memory. "I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I filed paperwork." The room leaned in. "I changed locks, not just on doors, on patterns, on silence." One of the boys muttered, "Damn," under his breath. A teacher shot him a warning look, but Gloria just smiled. "I wasn't raised to be confrontational, but I wasn't raised to be erased either." Someone sniffled. The girl up front quietly wiped under her eye, then closed her notebook altogether. Gloria continued, "They say silence is passive. I used mine like a scalpel, precise, clean." A beat of hush passed through the room, the kind you feel, not hear. Afterward, a line formed, not because they had to, but because something in them cracked open. One girl hugged her wordlessly, clutching a phone charger like a lifeline. A boy asked if he could write to her. Lucas lingered near the back, not rushing, not speaking, just present. Outside, the evening turned golden. Gloria stepped onto the front steps of the school to find Olive standing with a paper bag and a satisfied grin. "You didn't burn her down," Olive said. "You bulldozed the soil and planted again." From the bag, she pulled out a plaque, carved wood, hand-lacquered, simple serif font. Owned, earned, unshaken. Gloria ran her fingers over the grooves. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. That night, Claire called with the last legal update. "It's official," she said. "Tiffany is permanently barred from accessing, contesting, or filing property claims related to your address or estate. Forever. It's filed, stamped, sealed." Gloria nodded slowly, watching the hallway camera feed from her tablet. The front door was quiet. Peace didn't announce itself. It just stopped needing to knock. In the morning, she changed the locks one last time. Same brass, same handle, just new mechanics. No emergency this time. No urgency. Just a quiet, complete reset. Later that afternoon, she found Lucas in the guest house, hunched over the table with his markers spread like a fan. "Is that for school?" she asked. He shook his head. "For us." He held up the paper, a drawing of a plate, whole this time, with gold streaks running through it like kintsugi. Beside it stood a little house, rooted next to a tall tree. "I didn't want to draw it broken anymore," Gloria swallowed. "Neither did I." The house didn't creak anymore, not from tension, not from footsteps that waited for permission, not from slamming doors or raised voices. It breathed differently now, its wooden floors relaxed, its kitchen humming with the smell of fresh herbs and bread, its walls no longer leaning in to listen for conflict. The silence was warm, not wary. A year had passed, and in that year Gloria had stopped bracing. Lucas sat at the upright piano in the living room, fingers slow, deliberate, picking his way through Clair de Lune like he was watering a seed with each note. The light from the front windows spilled across the keys in soft, golden streaks. He wore mismatched socks, one yellow, one blue, and his hair flopped into his eyes. "You're getting better," Gloria said gently from the armchair, sewing needle in hand. "I stopped pressing too hard," he murmured, not looking up. "You said the keys aren't going anywhere." I meant it. Outside, the garden had grown bold. Tomato vines climbed their trellises like they owned the fence, and the rosemary by the gate had taken on a life of its own. Gloria knelt beside the stone path, digging a shallow hole for the new bench, reclaimed cedar, smooth-grained, built by Olive's nephew, delivered with no fuss and a container of pecan muffins. She wiped her hands on a towel tucked into her waistband, then looked at the mural on the side of the guest house. Lucas's handprint still marked the bottom corner. Above it, a house and a tree, his original drawing brought to life in sweeping colors. Nestled in the branches, almost hidden, was the shape of a plate, gold cracked and whole. Jason pulled into the driveway just as she stood to stretch. He got out of the car with 2 paper bags, milk, pears, a rotisserie chicken, and a 6-pack of Topo Chico. "Garden showing off again?" he said, setting the bags on the porch bench. Gloria didn't rush to speak. She just wiped the sweat from her neck, studied him. His shirt was unwrinkled, his eyes clearer. No one lived in fear of Tiffany's moods anymore, not even him. He leaned against the post. "Lucas asked if he could teach me piano. I told him I have 2 left hands. He told me he just wants you to sit next to him," she replied. Jason looked down. "Thanks for all of it." Gloria nodded once. No need to dwell in apologies that arrived a season late. Some things were better composted. That afternoon, as the cicadas tuned up in the trees, Gloria walked to the front door and carefully hung the framed plaque Olive had carved for her birthday. "Rest here, it's earned." The house stood still, but it pulsed with something stronger than memory. It pulsed with survival that didn't harden, only deepened. Around 5, her neighbor from 2 doors down waved from the sidewalk, tote bag slung over her shoulder. "Still yours?" she called out. Gloria shaded her eyes from the sun and smiled. Now more than ever. Later that evening, after dishes were washed and Lucas had finished his chapter book on the back patio, Gloria sat on the new bench in the garden and watched the sky fade from amber to violet. She didn't need a journal. The house remembered everything. Inside, by the fireplace, above the mantel where family portraits once hung uneven, she had placed a single line, printed clean on linen paper behind a pane of glass. She threw a plate. I threw her out, and built something she never could: peace.